Today's panel will be moderated by Nimrod Ludesher, CEO of BDN Automotive, and he will be joined by Stanisław Rogoziński, General Partner at Sarus Starter, Ksenia Szurak, the CBDO at GGMans AI, and Dan Andoni, the CDO of Selftalk. Without further ado, guys, the stage is yours.
So, thank you everyone for joining us for this session, which will be about, well, AI beyond ChatGPT. My name is Nimrod Ludesher. I'm going to be the moderator of this session. And before we dive into the topic and actually talk to the panelists about all the topics, what is artificial intelligence? It is basically when you ask a software or a machine to do some stuff, some progress, what usually requires human intelligence. Well, like the advent of AI has significantly changed our industry, and it definitely opened up a lot of opportunities. And so we thought about shuffling the cards a bit with this session. So actually, I am using an AI-created script to basically talk about the AI's future. So let's see how the AI introduces its own future. The first question is how we use currently, well, ChatGPT or other GPT-based models. I think ladies first. So I'll ask you, Ksenia.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I think that also maybe I will just introduce a little bit of the background about myself. So basically, I'm CBDO at GGMans AI, and what we are doing, we are generating diverse secondary characters in seconds for gaming studios. So we are very much in the topic of generative AI and have been exploring the field for almost a year now. And if we're speaking about like ChatGPT and like the usage of other models, so for sure, we are also thinking about the usage of these specific technologies in gaming and for our purposes in the creation of models. So for example, we're using very actively right now Stable Diffusion. We are also using like Midjourney, but on top of these models, we're using our own models because we never can say that the those LLMs which are on the market right now that we can only use them. I think that I will also pass the word maybe to my colleagues in the panel. And
I'd have one more interesting point that
Sure.
you mentioned me earlier, that how about your artists? Like, is it a conflict between them and the AI? Like, who creates the characters?
Yeah, sure. So if we're speaking about the creation of characters right now, so basically the job is done manually by artists. For sure, they're using a lot of tools, which are tools for 3D modeling. There are also some tools right now for automation and a little bit using also AI tools. But still, the process takes really months. For example, if we're speaking about creation of a crowd, it can take up to like 6 months to create even a simple crowd and up to $5 million for only one gaming project. So by using AI here, we are saying that it will fasten the process. And right now, like these crowds will be created in seconds, and it will be much cheaper.
Nice, cool. I think this is a pretty good perspective. I'll turn to you now. What do you see from a VC perspective?
Hey, hello, my name is Stanisław Rogoziński. I run a VC fund named Sarus Starter. We have invested like in 15 companies, two of them are being impacted directly by ChatGPT, another 3 at least somehow test the ChatGPT. And what is the most important, that when you look currently in the venture market capital, there are 2 most hot topics. One is generative AI, and second is climate tech. So now everybody talking about generative AI as a next cloud. So it would be some basic technology based upon which we will be building new businesses, new ventures, and that after few boring years in the business, we're gonna have a very nice explosion of the new ideas.
So do you think it is a wonder, or should we still like stay cautious about it?
I think AI brings also opportunities and challenges in the business perspective. For example, all my companies that are being somehow impacted by ChatGPT, they are doing two things parallelly. On the one hand, they are developing ChatGPT, they are introducing ChatGPT to their businesses. And on the other hand, that they are creating competitive solutions that are their own proprietary IP. So, you know, now is something like a honeymoon. So we get it for free or we get it cheap, and we don't know how the future will be looking like. So you don't want to be vendor locked.
Okay, thanks. Jen, could you share some more about your practical experience? Because I know yesterday we had a chat about you giving some money to a GTP model, and I think it's a pretty good perspective of what it has done.
Yeah, basically, OpenAI is always testing their new GPT models, and they give it to a Red Hat team which tries to misuse this model in different ways. And there was this example when they gave it access to a bank account and to ability to have a company. And what they saw is that it's pretty efficient in making money, and it tends to become very monopolistic oriented, meaning it tries to gather all the resources to itself and becomes a bit egoistic. Anyways, we at Self-Talk, we are doing therapy, and of course we also experimented with ChatGPT, and what we saw is that even though it's very helpful that it can generate a lot of texts, we still have the human bottleneck or approval gate where the therapists have to look for this content and actually make sure that the generation is useful and according to all the medical requirements. So I'm a bit aligned to the fact that the human factor basically does not disappear. We still need to be like the last ones taking the final decision of the results of the AI work.
Nice. So the next topic will be about corporate resistance of using ChatGPT. I know that in a lot of corporate environments they've already banned this software because of well, IP and data protection issues. I know that myself, I'm using ChatGPT for loads of data creation, including sales prospecting and defining campaigns, even sometimes applying for grants, at least the basics. But what do you guys and Ksenia, what do you think about these bans, and can it be overcome, or is it a serious threat?
So basically, I think that the topic is really very fresh, in the market, so we cannot tell, at least for now, where it's gonna go and which limitations we will have at the end of the day. But for sure, from one perspective, it's there are already, you were saying, a lot of bans, and we also see those bans in creative industries, in gaming, for example. They already are banning in some studios to use Midjourney for the generation of concept and for use it in 2D games. And we think that there will be more legal restrictions in the future. However, that is also a good thing in a way, because it somehow sets up the rules for generative AI and how we're gonna use it. But we're gonna, I think, see more in the future. It's very hard right now, to tell anything certain on the topic.
Dan? Yeah, so we've seen this dispute about trying to stop AI development for 6 months, and that's probably exactly because of this understanding. I think that using generative AI is unstoppable thing. We will use it in the future, and whoever will not use it will have to lose in terms of business value. So the only thing which is left is to understand even a bit better how this black box of AI is working, to put some legal frameworks, because, for example, Midjourney, I think Midjourney is the one who is kind of sued for the fact that a lot of the materials they are using are coming from other artists. So it's like the honeymoon period where we figure out the rules of the game, and as soon as they are in place, I think that we are awaiting a boom of kind of meta apps, which are the classical apps with some AI on top, which bring a totally different value to the market.
Stanislav, how is this affecting these investments?
Maybe I will add one thing. I think the situation is similar, because when we look at you look at the first implementation of AI in the real industry, it would be marketing. Yeah, we had a big data streams at the beginning there, the machine learning models were used there. You have all this programmatic advertisement, you have this real-time bidding, where actually algorithms trade against one another. And I think the situation will be similar. So after some Wild West period, there will be regulations, there will be systems protecting against ChatGPT and so on. And currently, I believe in the short and midterms, we're going to have something like hybrid models. So we see, for example, the ChatGPT makes some part of the work, for example, give input to the some more controllable systems in the company and makes output. But the reasoning, the decision-making processes are made outside large language models because they are difficult to control. They cannot justify their decision. You don't know why such a decision has been made. They tend to hallucinate when they are doing more complicated jobs. So. Yeah, but probably in the long term, everything can happen.
Okay, reflecting to what you said about like regulations coming up, I'm pretty sure everyone heard about OpenAI's project when they basically launched a GPT-based model its name was Chaos GTP, and its goal was basically to ruin humanity and kill everyone on the planet. And the fact that it didn't succeed is actually pretty happy, but it also showed that there is a potential that these kind of technologies could be used for wrong. So what do you think? Let's start with Dan first now.
What do I think specifically about how it can be misused, or if?
Well, yeah, first of all, the misuse and also the upcoming regulations. Because also like a lot of big names in AI development just stood up from their desk and said, oh, hey, I'm moving to the background now before we sign all the policies because we have developed something which could actually be the Terminator.
Yeah, I definitely think that there is a need for like a different approach to understanding how these models work, and we cannot go further without fear if we don't put a very strict legal system around these things. Imagine that basically when you're typing to ChatGPT, if this data would be misused against a user, the company which uses this would be able to understand what are your thoughts which you haven't told, because the model is generative, so it can basically continue your thoughts and understand what is the product you would like to buy, but you didn't say that, or what is that emotion you have towards your colleague, but you didn't say that, and maybe you can be fired because of that. So we do need a lot of understanding, and I'm very interested of how it will evolve in 1 year from now.
Maybe my thoughts about it are rounding about 2 points. First point is that always in history there is so-called, this time is different, error of thinking. That after every great invention, people were thinking that it's the end of the world, and it's common, it's cycling in the history. And maybe this time is the same, so we're gonna have some period of disturbance and then volatility, and then everything will come to the balance. But on the other hand, I think it's the first time in the history when the technology itself has a feedback to itself. So the technology can improve itself without human supervision, human impact. And I think it's something new, and it's important thing with unknown currently proceeds.
Yeah, just to add a little bit here, I think that, yeah, depending like on the legal restrictions which are going to be there, it's good that we basically will be able to control AI in a way. So it's already possible even now, like in the creative industries, that we can restrict the models in a way. So I think that that's interesting to see, just, you know, in which direction we're gonna go. But definitely, in my point of view, it's rather a technology which is gonna give us more progress rather than, you know, ruin the world. And yeah.
Okay, these are all interesting points. Let's turn into like the future of AI. I'm pretty sure all of you remember, like during the pandemic of coronavirus, there was definitely a winter of crypto, and everyone says that there's like a winter of everything, and Elon Musk definitely disagrees with the fact that AI as a whole will have a winter, and he says that it will actually continue developing, and there's no stopping this one. What do you think about this topic? Let's start with now, Stanislav.
I'm thinking that metaverse, crypto, and AI are completely different things because the first basket, I don't see the very crucial need at this point for those technologies. They are entertainment, they are investing, and something like this. And AI, it is here, it will be here, it will change our life. The companies, although we can fear of it, we have to use it. For example, we cannot do it without it. It's like electricity for the companies currently. Yeah, maybe someone has something more important, interesting to add.
Yeah, the way I see AI is like take all the human knowledge and put a tool on top which can continue this human knowledge indefinitely. So from this point of view, I definitely agree with the perspective which Elon Musk is assuming, that there is no way there is a type of winter, because it simply cannot be applied to this type of phenomenon. It's indefinitely continuous, kind of.
And it's also, as you mentioned, right? It's something unstoppable right now, because like companies are thinking that we need to implement AI already now, and already a lot of them are using it actively. And here the funny thing is that we've started to speak about actually ChatGPT, you know, and like AI maybe this November. But the idea is that a lot of companies were doing it already for years, and it just this year that it got boom. But as a lot of companies were already like making the research work and also already releasing their products before, I think that only like proves that there's going to be like no winter. For sure, there might be some winter for some companies if we're speaking about legal restrictions, but probably not in the development and the like future work of the companies.
Yeah, and we can see how attractive it is, because ChatGPT itself as an application has had more users than anything, than Instagram, than TikTok in like the shortest time span. And also, if you take the Seinfeld series, maybe you guys have heard that there is like the AI generated this series continuously, and it was very interesting, and it also got traction. So basically, anything the generative AI gets into is very interesting for humans. So obviously, this is interesting for businesses. So yeah, we cannot expect anyone to stop using it just out of politeness or something.
So if you let your imagination free and could have one wish what AI should do for you, what will you choose? I know it's a tough question, but actually anyone else in the crowd could give us some more as well. Now let me start actually, because I have an answer for this myself, because I'm working with engines, and like the efficiency of those is always set to how I tune them and how I work with them. And just imagine a life when like all the machines were controlled by artificial intelligence, and every machine can reach its like efficiency and performance sweet spot every time, no matter if it's cold or hot or if it's raining or not. So from my industry, that would be definitely the sweet spot where I would use it, and we're actually working on it, but who knows what the future brings.
So I'm more interested from the philosophy point of view. If I would be an AI developer and would be able to improve the GPT model or like to push its boundaries, I would like to see what it would be like to take all the writings of, for example, Freud, and try to predict what would he write if he would exist for 20 more years, or maybe Tesla, or maybe Einstein, and basically using the AI to push the boundaries of the limits of the intellects of the people which were most famous in our culture.
As I'm from creative industries and from gaming, I wish that more people actually have access to game development and have more access to tools. And what it will bring, I hope what AI will bring at the end of the day is that like even gamers, in games will be able to create games just by providing some textual prompt, and let's say they're saying what world I want to have, which type of characters I want to have in a game, or like in Fortnite, and it will be created for them easily. So like in seconds, we like this word in our company, like we want 3D models to be created in seconds. So we wish that gamers were able to create their own games in seconds.
For me, the most interesting area is using AI in the creating new scientific theories. I mean, the innovation in the basic science, because at the end, it's like creating, it's like making a hypothesis and then testing it. And the AI can do it very fastly. It can go through all the hypotheses we can imagine in a matter of minutes, seconds, hours. And it's very interesting. There are currently many papers about wondering whether our science is such because we have started with some models, some equations, Newton, Einstein, and so on, and whether another science is possible, another way of describing observation and observation. And AI currently is trying to answer this question, whether we can build the completely new paradigm of science, and it's the most interesting thing for me.
As you talked about science, how about medical applications? Should we, because like most of the medical diagnosis is about like applying science and doing some research and checking like how it happened in the past and what are the symptoms. Should we actually trust an AI to come up with like any kind of decision what could actually change our lives like this?
I kind of have knowledge in this area, so definitely we shouldn't trust AI currently in the medical area. It's for several reasons, because when we conduct a medical interview, we are getting a lot of information from different sources, and AI models tend to hallucinate, it is called, when they receive such information in parts during an interview. It's also a black box, so we cannot trace the decision, medical decision, to the medical paper and to the publication, to the research conducted previously. And for this reason, they cannot be used as medical devices currently. But the future will show.
On a funnier note, I've recently run a half marathon, and basically I didn't prepare for it until 3 weeks before. And I asked ChatGPT to prepare a meal, an exercise, and sleep plan for me. And I mean, I did finish the marathon with a good result, so I don't know. Sometimes it's helpful. I wouldn't say that's medical, but it definitely touches your health as a human being.
That's fair enough. So, as a final note, what would you bring home from today's session? What would you suggest for the startups being here?
Probably to start acquiring AI in your job already right now, and not to be scared about its implications in your daily routine. I think that it's really something amazing, and it's going to change your life for the best.
Yeah, the way I see it is that any type of content generation is now automated behind, in front of our eyes. And what I believe will happen in the future, or even in the next year or so, is that the people with the most visionary approaches will be the one who will receive the most value. Because you need to have the vision, and it's enough, because you give a prompt to the AI model and it generates it for you. And so maybe if you're in a job where your type of content is kind of a templating way of doing it, maybe try to see how you can use the AI model and invest in having a vision in your industry or in your job.
From my perspective as a venture capital, it is important that the company correctly redefine somehow their uniqueness and originality, because the models are not something unique currently. in most cases, access to data. So the first point is in which, what are the barriers to entry for our company and will be in the future. And the second. And the second thing is not to be too dependent on ChatGPT, not to be vendor locked on this solution.
Exactly. So these things are very good, but you shouldn't trust them too much, and you should still do the job yourself. So we would like to thank you all for joining us for this session. And actually now we came to the Q&A. So if anyone has any question in the crowd, then please feel free to shout it in. Come on, really, no questions about AI? What do you work with?
There are no mics.
Okay, they're telling us that we're actually late. So thank you, everyone. Big round of applause for the panelists.
Thank you very much.
And then actually, the photo comes as well, I guess.